Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. Each week, host Bryan O'Rourke brings you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse for what matters most for your business in the age of exponential technologies.
Hello, listeners, and welcome. I'm your host, Bryan O'Rourke. Again, we are in the end of April. It's been an amazing month with continued rebounds. I know our friends in Europe and Asia and Brazil and India are still facing some significant restrictions. And so our hearts go out to you all as vaccinations continue to spread, and hopefully things will at some point improve for everyone in the United States. A significant number of people are getting vaccinated, and some things seem to be improving, and gyms are operating in many quadrants of the United States. We know the UK is opened recently, so let's hope for continued good news. Another note you might have seen, IRSA's convention has moved to October, the third week in October, I believe, in Dallas now, moved from Los Angeles. So we'll have a link in the show notes for those details on that event, and a lot of other things hopefully opening up in the weeks and months ahead. I'm so glad that you're joining today. We have a pretty interesting guest, Mike Kelly, who heads up distributor partnerships for a company called Atmosphere TV. And this is pretty interesting because digital content has been a conversation that a lot of people have been engaging in, over the last year, obviously. And what Atmosphere is doing, largely in restaurants, bars, other venues, dentist offices, is they have a very unique set of content. It's ambient, there's no noise or sound, but it's very unique. And we're going to talk with Mike about some of the things that they do and some of the advantages that you might want to explore. It's an interesting conversation on content in general. Atmosphere TV just announced a few days ago a $25 million raise in a Series B round, with Valor Equity Partners being, I think, the primary investor at a value of $275 million. So, they're a growing business, and I found the chat with Mike, who heads up their partnerships, really interesting. And so, I'm hoping you're going to enjoy this conversation. So without further ado, let's welcome Mike Kelly. Well, hello, listeners. As I was mentioning in the intro, we are very fortunate to have Mike Kelly on from Atmosphere TV. Mike, thanks for making time. Where are you calling us from?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys. Currently, Las Vegas, Nevada, here for a few months, but by way of Los Angeles, and then before that, by way of New Jersey. So kind of been all around.
Well, this is going to be fascinating. I've enjoyed speaking with you about this. As you know, with technology and, user experience and trends and what that means for health clubs and gyms. I've been a big fan of Kevin Kelly's book, and listeners have heard me talk about the inevitable understanding the 12 technology forces that are going to impact our lives and industries. One of the things he talks about is screens everywhere. And really the idea of user experience in a club. When we think about user experience and content, Mike, can you describe, what you see going on there and a little bit about, what's happening in that world?
Yeah, sure. So, we were originally built on the idea of, what are people watching in a business setting, originally in a bar restaurant setting when they're not watching sports. We kind of realized that same idea, that same concept translates to tons of different types of industries, whether it's gyms or hotels or laundromats, casinos, oil change facilities, urgent cares. I mean, at this point, you can start to see where you've ever seen a screen in any sort of business, how, they could improve that customer experience. And so, the gym setting is one of those places where it's always just been, live sports, or hopefully has been what people have used. So it's always just been cable. There hasn't really been another option that made much sense specifically for, the gym business. Some people do music videos, but again, that's not necessarily relevant to your gym experience. And so when you really sit down and do the math, I mean, maybe if you're lucky, every day you've got 2 to 3 hours of live sports. I mean, there's times where you have no live sports, depending on your time zone, whatever it might be. But point is, you have a lot of time to fill. And so if you want to help create at least the best customer experience you possibly can, you need to factor in the very idea that not everybody who comes into the gym is a sports fan. There's a lot of people who exercise and don't know what team LeBron James plays for, and that's totally fine. We wanted to be able to create channels that were relevant to the gym space, whether it's our fitness channel Motivate, or even our surf channel, ski channel, and even if you don't want to use any of those like physical activity type channels, we have puppies and kittens and babies and cutesy happies type stuff that just makes people feel good. So we wanted to create an audio optional option, because when you think about it, the only audio optional or the audio free options out there built for a gym where people have headphones in all the time really is live sports, because talking heads and COVID news and all that stuff, you have people speaking, and when the sound's not going on over the loudspeakers, it's really not doing much for the business.
Exactly. And all the top brands in retail, in lodging, in any kind of industry I could think of, if you're looking at their new concepts, you see a pretty abundant application of screen that is building on that brand experience as a point of differentiation, right? And really in the health club business and gym business more, it's easier to consume that kind of content in a positive way when you're not having to look at a phone either, right? But and really gets to what kind of content should that be, and how can you integrate that in a way that is differentiating. I've seen what Atmosphere TV is distributing, and it is very different. Can you share more about the type of content that you're having your clients use and the kind of content you distribute?
Yeah, well, the beautiful part about it is that we started as one channel, again, built for bars and restaurants. It was kind of fun, goofy, viral videos meant for it's bar TV. Like it was stuff that you could have a beer to and laugh with your buddies, or laugh at with a stranger next to you. But since then, we've built out 40 plus channels. So I say all the time, it kind of varies. You might be a gym in Southern California who's right by the beach, and your clientele are guys and gals who wear swimsuits underneath their gym clothes, and they leave the gym and go straight to the beach. And if that's the case, maybe you like our surf channel, or maybe you're a gym or a fitness facility in Denver and you want mountain content because that's the stuff that your people like. So as far as the content goes, I mean, it could be anything from, we have a cooking channel, we have partners like Red Bull TV and X Games and America's Funniest Home Videos. I mean, really the list goes on. At this point, we've built what we consider to be a network of content channels built for any mood, any sort of business. There's really not ever a shortage of content out there. So we have a lot of really great options, no matter what sort of business you might be and what sort of part of the country.
I would recommend the listeners, we'll have the link in the show notes to see some of this content, because some of it's pretty exceptional. It's very different, right? And when you're used to seeing certain content in certain gyms, when you see this stuff, at least this is what happened to me, I immediately envisioned that would make a lot of sense, put it here in this kind of a club. I mean, it's very differentiating. So I get the idea, and I think people should check it out because it is pretty interesting. And when we talk about content, Mike, we're not just talking about that kind of content as well. We're talking about things like signage and other information, correct? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so one thing we kind of stumbled on was the fact that we started getting into hundreds and then thousands of bars and restaurants, and people started to say, how can I take advantage of the eyes that this screen attracts? They found that people would, you got a big bar and maybe you have Chive TV playing in the corner, and people's eyes go straight there, and they say, hey, how can I upsell these people? How can I tell them about an event we have coming up? How can I promote things? And we built a digital signage manager in there. And our whole idea with the digital signage is that anybody can build digital signage on a USB stick, run a slideshow from PowerPoint or whatever, stick it in the corner and say they do digital signage, but we built the signage to integrate within our content. So it looks more so like a commercial. So it looks like, we have great content running, and then all of a sudden you have a commercial popping up. And, we do that purposely because, again, we want people to actually engage and be entertained by the screen and look at the screen, rather than just have something static off to the side. And furthermore, we built it out to be the type of thing that you can use for in-house advertising, promotions, specials, features, events, images, videos, whatever you want, but also as a new additional revenue stream where if you have vendors or you have partners, whether it's a nutrition company or it's a local meal prep company or whatever it might be, interested in capturing the clients in your fitness facility, you can tell them, hey, for X amount of dollars a month, like I'll run your ad on our screen every 3 minutes. It's way more effective and way more flexible because it's all web-based than expensive print materials or you go to these gyms all the time. You see those walls where they have business cards, chiropractors, dentists, whatever. So this is a way more flexible, way more engaging, way more modern 2021 type of tool that is really effective in capturing people's eyes and then feeding them the messaging you want to feed them.
Yeah, and that includes the internal marketing if you wanted to do it on your own services or whatever you might have. In the clubs around the country are opening back up. I know you're out of Southern California, right? So those operations are starting to open up as well, thankfully. And so people are coming back to gyms and clubs. Talk about the implications of the post-COVID era.
Yeah, so when I think it's extremely important that you tell your members, your customers that while and I hate to say that the phrase time off, but while the gym was closed for 4 months, 6 months, 10 months, a year, whatever it's been, you want to be able to show members that you've been looking to make improvements, whether it's in technology or whether it's in equipment or whether it's in cleanliness or efficiency and flow of the gym or whatever it might be. Like you want to show that when people come back, they're not walking into what they left. I think that's super important because I think back to the gym that I go to out in Los Angeles, and they were closed for so long, and when they reopened, I was actually really, and I didn't expect this. I'm not gonna tell you the name, but I didn't expect this from this particular gym because it's not their style to do much upgrades and things like that. And so I came in and I noticed that they had a ton of new equipment and they did a great job with cleanliness and everything that they had inside. They took the time to physically move outside, and when you move fitness equipment and weights, I mean, there's nothing heavier than literally moving weights. I mean, there's not enough dollies and hand trucks in the world to make that an easy job. Right. So, I was really impressed to see that they took the time to make changes, make improvements, and you can see it. Like they don't need to put a big announcement on there and say like, hey, look at all the great things we did. It's one of those things that when your members come back, they're able to look and say, hey, during this time, during this crazy COVID time, the business had to, obviously struggle to stay afloat. But while they were closed, they looked for ways to, make the member experience even better than it was prior. Update the facility, introduce new technology, whether it's something simple as us on a TV or a new piece of equipment that's tech savvy. But I think that's a really important thing to show your members is that you've taken that time to improve the facility and improve their experience.
Yeah, again, I've seen this content and it's really exceptional. And I could imagine that if someone came back to a club and they had a significant increase in screens and had this kind of a content experience on it, it would be quite noticeable for people coming back, especially as you described, being able to kind of customize it to the area or particular concept that you are running.
Yeah. So look, I mean, nothing's changed. When you really think about it, something like TV hasn't changed in so long in a gym setting. When you've been exercising as long as we haven't been spending enough time in gyms for all these years, that you walk in and it's always going to be Stephen A. Smith arguing with Skip Bayless about whatever who the top of the best quarterback of all time is or whatever. Is it Jordan or is it best NBA player Jordan, LeBron? It's the same argument. So you expect to see all that same stuff. When you introduce something different to the TVs, because again, during rest periods, I think again about my own personal workouts. I time my rest periods, and during those times, I'm breathing, looking around, just looking around the gym, like trying to figure out, like, get my mind ready for the next set or the next thing I'm going to do. And it's nice to be able to say, oh, like, look, that's really cool, engaging fitness content on the screen, or that's really cool, engaging surf content, really high definition, beautifully shot, nicely done content, rather than the same talking heads and sports interviewers that we've been used
Yeah,
to.
that's true. Or like the news, if it's CNN, Fox, or whoever it is. I mean, do you really want the aggravation of watching all that kind of stuff go on while you're resting in between your sets?
Oh, that's supposed to be your, again, like if you treat the gym like a place where that's your getaway, which a lot of people do, your hour and a half, 45 minutes, whatever it is, to get away from your job or get away from, your kids or wife or family, whatever, that's time where you don't want to be bombarded by politics or COVID news or whatever. Like, it's just not it's not something conducive to creating the best member experience.
That's correct. I believe it so much. And again, I loved your content when I saw it. So tell us how your business model works, Mike. How do you work with partners?
Yeah, so we provide the service and the device for free, and everyone's always waiting for the catch, like the freemium model. How does that work for the end consumer and end user? And it's pretty simple. I mean, we're an ad-driven product, so we're able to offer the service and device at no cost, for that exact reason. Because we can provide a top tier service, and we can start advertising on the back end to help cover our costs and make money for the business, of course. We do have ads-free options. If the venue didn't like the ads, but of course, we're nothing controversial. We don't do politics, so you don't see any political ads or anything like that. Thank God the election's been over for some time, and we have a couple more years still to worry about that again. But we're in a space where we want to be able to offer premium content at a very affordable cost, free, to a venue. And when you think about it, people say, oh, I don't want commercials running, I don't want ads running. When you think about it, if you have DirecTV or Comcast or any kind of cable, you're not only paying for that service, but you have advertisers running commercials all the time, in your venue, and you're paying for those too. So we've created this model where it's free for the customer, free for the end user. We just want to make sure that we're obviously able to sustain our business, and we do that through advertising.
No, and again, I said I love the content. I really think people should check it out. In the show notes, we're going to have more details about how to get in touch with you all to learn more, and links so you can see some of the stuff you guys do. Fantastic to chat with you about these trends and content and what Atmosphere TV is up to, Mike. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and looking forward to working more with y'all. And if there's anything, any questions, of course, anybody can reach out directly to me. I'm sure you'll put it in the notes, but it's just mike.kelly@atmosphere.tv. And we'd be glad to work with any of your listeners and anybody involved in the community.
Awesome, Mike. Take care of yourself. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you, man.